to learn how to use spreadsheets and start analyzing data using Excel. This course from IBM is designed to help you work with Excel and gives you a good grounding in the cleaning and analyzing of data, which are important parts of the skill set required to become a data analyst. You will not only learn data analysis techniques using spreadsheets, but also practice using multiple hands-on labs throughout the course. In Module 1, you will learn about the basics of spreadsheets, including spreadsheet terminology, the interface, and navigating around worksheets and workbooks. In Module 2, you will learn about selecting data, entering and editing data, copying and autofilling data, formatting data, and using functions and formulas. In Module 3, you will learn about cleaning and wrangling data using a spreadsheet, including the fundamentals of data quality and data privacy, removing duplicated and inaccurate data, removing empty rows, removing data inconsistencies and white spaces, and using the flash fill and text to columns features. In Module 4, you will learn about analyzing data using spreadsheets, including filtering data, sorting data, using common data analysis functions, creating and using pivot tables, and creating and using slicers and timelines. At the end of this course, in Module 5, you will complete a series of hands-on labs which will guide you on how to create your first deliverable as a data analyst. This will involve you understanding what the business scenario is, cleaning and preparing your data, and analyzing your data. You will follow 2 different business scenarios throughout the course, with each using their own data set. These different scenarios and data sets will be used in the lesson videos and in the hands-on labs. After completing this course, you will be able to understand how spreadsheets can be used as a data analysis tool, understand when to use spreadsheets as a data analysis tool and their limitations, create a spreadsheet and explain its basic functionality, perform data wrangling and data cleaning tasks using Excel, analyze data using filter, sort, and pivot table features within Excel spreadsheets. You will also perform some intermediate level data wrangling and data analysis tasks to address a business scenario. The course team and other peers are available to help in the course discussion forums in case you require any assistance. Let's get started with your next video where you will get an introduction to spreadsheets. In this first video of the course, we will list some of the common spreadsheet applications available, learn about key capabilities of spreadsheets, and discuss why spreadsheets might be a useful tool for a data analyst. There are several spreadsheet applications available in the marketplace. Some of them are more widely known and used than others, and some are free, while others need to be paid for. By far, the most commonly used spreadsheet application, and the most fully featured of them all, is Microsoft Excel. The desktop version comes in a paid form as part of the Office suite and some Microsoft 365 subscriptions. But there is also a web-based cut-down version called Excel for the Web, also known as Excel Online. The online version is free to users with a Microsoft account, but does not offer all the advanced features that the desktop version provides. The next most popular is Google Sheets, which offers a lot, though not all, of the features that Excel provides, and is free with a Google account. This is a web-based application, and it integrates nicely with other Google apps, such as Google Forms, Google Analytics, and Google Data Studio. Then there is LibreOffice Calc, a totally free and open-source desktop spreadsheet application that offers more basic functionality than Excel or Google Sheets, but still has a lot of the tools you need for data analysis, such as charts, conditional formatting, and pivot tables. Other spreadsheet apps include Zoho Sheet, a fully featured web-based application that is comparable with Google Sheets, OpenOffice Calc, Quip for Salesforce, Smartsheet, which is predominantly for project management, and Apple Numbers, which is included with Apple devices such as Mac computers and is also available on the App Store for other Apple devices. So there are many spreadsheet application options open to you, from fully featured to basic, from cloud-based to desktop apps, from paid-for to free versions. It's up to you to decide which one fits your needs and your budget. Spreadsheets provide several advantages over manual calculation methods. For example, once you have your formulas correctly written, you can be assured that your calculations are accurate and that the calculations will be performed automatically for you. Spreadsheets also help keep your data organized and easily accessible. Your data can be easily formatted, filtered, and sorted to suit your needs. If you do make mistakes in your data entry or your calculations, you can easily edit them, undo them, or use error-checking tools to help remedy those mistakes. And lastly, you can analyze data in spreadsheets and create charts, graphs, and reports to help visualize your data analysis. Since spreadsheet software for personal computers first appeared on the market in the 1970s with VisiCalc on the Apple II PC, spreadsheets have come a long way in terms of the capabilities and features they now offer businesses. From uncomplicated tables and relatively simple computations to powerful tools for analysis, management, and visualization of enormous sets of data. The most common business uses for spreadsheet applications include the following: data entry and storage, comparing large data sets, modeling and planning, charting, identifying trends, flowcharts for business processes, tracking business sales, financial forecasting, statistical analysis, profit and loss accounting, budgeting, forensic auditing, payroll and tax reporting, invoicing, and scheduling. And away from the business side of things, other typical uses include personal expenses, household budgeting, recipe library, fitness tracking, calorie counting and weight monitoring, sports leagues such as fantasy football, cataloging music libraries, and even contact lists, shopping lists, and Christmas card lists. As a data analyst, you can use spreadsheets as a tool for your data analysis tasks, including collecting and harvesting data from one or more distributed and different sources, cleaning data to remove duplicates, inaccuracies, errors, and resolve missing values to improve the quality of the data, analyzing data by filtering, sorting, and interpreting it to determine what useful information can be gleaned from it, and visualizing data to help you tell a story about your data analysis findings to key business stakeholders and any other interested parties within your organization. In this video, we had an introduction to spreadsheets. We learned about some common spreadsheet applications, what the main capabilities of spreadsheets are, and why spreadsheets might be a useful tool for a data analyst. In the next video, we will look at the basics of spreadsheets, including common spreadsheet terminology. Now that we have a basic understanding of what spreadsheet software is available and why spreadsheets might be a useful tool for a data analyst, let's get started on looking at some of the basics of using a spreadsheet application. In these videos, we will be using the full desktop version of Excel, but the majority of the tasks that we will perform can also be done using Excel Online and other spreadsheet applications such as Google Sheets. Let's first cover some basic spreadsheet terminology. When you open Excel, you have the option of creating a new blank workbook or opening an existing workbook. We're going to choose New and then Blank Workbook. Workbooks are the highest level component in Excel and are represented as a .xlsx file. So when you open an existing workbook or create a new workbook, you are in fact working with a .xlsx file. The workbook contains all your data, calculations, and functions, and contains several other underlying elements that make up a workbook. A workbook consists of one or more worksheets, each of which is represented by a tab in Excel. Each worksheet is given a name which is displayed on the corresponding tab for the worksheet. By default, each tab is named Sheet 1, then Sheet 2, and so on. To make these worksheet tabs more meaningful, it is usual to rename them so they make more sense in relation to the worksheet's purpose. For example, you might call a worksheet January Sales, or perhaps the name of a region or store, or even an office or department. To do this, right-click the tab and choose Rename. Instead of right-clicking to rename, you can also just double-click the name of a worksheet tab to rename it. Essentially, worksheet tabs can be named anything you want to fit your particular needs to make it easier to understand what that worksheet represents. Note that a worksheet that is highlighted as the Tire Sales Worksheet tab is here is referred to as the active worksheet. If you want to order your worksheets in a different way, that is very simple to do. Either drag a worksheet tab to the left or right and drop it in the place you want, which is represented by the little black arrow. Or if you are not comfortable with dragging and dropping, then the longer way of doing that is to right-click the worksheet tab, select Move or Copy, and then in the list titled Before Sheet, select where you want your worksheet tab to be placed and click OK. Every worksheet is made up of a lot of rectangular boxes called cells. These cells will contain your data, which may be text, numbers, formulas, or calculation results. Cells are organized in columns, which run vertically down the screen and use a letter system. This is column B, for instance. And rows, which run horizontally across the screen and use a numeric system. This is row 7, for example. Each cell is represented by a cell reference, which is essentially just a column letter and row number. For example, if we click somewhere near the center of this worksheet, we now have the cell M20 selected. This is usually referred to as the active cell. This is not only indicated by the highlighted edges of the cell, but also if you look in the top left corner of the worksheet, you will see its cell reference is noted in the little box. Here you can see it says M20. One important thing to note here is that cells are always referenced by their column letter first, then their row number, so column M and row 20. The last element of a workbook I want to mention is a cell range. This identifies a collection of several cells selected together that could mean a few cells in the same row or the same column, or it could mean several rows and columns together. This can either be done using the mouse by selecting the first cell, then dragging down or across to include other cells, or you can use Shift plus arrow keys. This range of cells is often referred to as an array, and it's most commonly used as a reference in calculations and formulas. For example, if you want to add up all the values in a column between cells D9 and D19, you would specify this cell range within a formula. Note that cell ranges are notated using a full colon between the cell references. So in this example, it would be D9 colon D19. Or to specify a few cells in the same row, it might be D9 colon H9. Or to select several rows and columns, it might be D9 colon H19. We will see this notation in use later in the course when we start looking at calculations and formulas. These cell ranges could even be a reference point to cells contained on another worksheet. This is usually referred to as a 3D reference. We can now close this workbook and we don't need to save it. In this video, we learned about some of the basic terminology of spreadsheet elements. In the next video, we will discuss how to navigate around a spreadsheet, how to use the ribbon and menus, and how to select data. Now that we have a basic understanding of the main elements that make up a worksheet, let's see how to move around a spreadsheet, get familiar with the ribbon and menus, and learn how to select data in a worksheet. To open a sample file, we click File. This opens Backstage View. Here you can create a new workbook, or open, save, or print a workbook. You can also access Excel options. Now we want to open our sample file, so we click Open and either select it from My Recent list or click Browse to find the data file we want. The first thing we should do is get acquainted with the ribbon and menus. Notice that on the ribbon at the top we have several tabs. Some of these tabs may be familiar to you with other Office products, such as the Home, Insert, and View tabs, while others might be new to you, such as Formulas, Data, and Power Pivot. To make a little more workspace for ourselves, we can hide this ribbon by double-clicking any tab, and to unhide it, we do the same. The other option is to use the shortcut key, Ctrl plus F1. The ribbon is organized into groups of buttons to make them easier to find. So on the Home tab, we have groups for font, alignment, number, styles, and so on. Some of these groups contain all the available buttons on the ribbon when viewing in full screen, such as styles and cells, but other ribbon groups have more options, which we access by clicking the little arrow icon in the bottom right corner of the group, as can be seen here on the number group, for example. The next item I want to point out is the Quick Access toolbar at the top of the screen above the ribbon. As the name suggests, this is where you can quickly access the tools you use most often. You can see we already have some tools in this toolbar, such as Save, Undo, Redo, New, and Open. But we can add other tools to the toolbar if we wish. So if we click the drop-down arrow in the toolbar and then select a tool we use a lot, such as Sort Ascending, that will be added. And we will also add the Sort Descending button. Now we need to be comfortable with moving around a worksheet. You can simply use the arrow keys to move left, right, up, and down one cell at a time. But you can also use page down and page up to move around a bit faster, which is especially useful if you have lots of rows of data. And to move even quicker up or down a large data sheet, use the vertical scroll bar. And to move left or right, use the horizontal scroll bar. Again, these can be very useful when you have a large data set. There are also some useful shortcuts you can use. Ctrl plus Home key, for example, takes you back to the start of the worksheet, that is, cell A1. Ctrl plus End takes you to the cell at the end of your data in the worksheet. Ctrl plus Down arrow takes you to the end of the column you're in, while Ctrl plus Up arrow takes you back to the top of that column. So a quick way to find out how many rows of data you have in your worksheet is to go to the first cell in your data and press Ctrl plus Down arrow to see the last row of data. So here you can see we have 160 rows. Now, how do we go back to the top again? Ctrl plus Home will do it. So far, we have seen how to navigate around our worksheet and its data. Now we need to look at how we select data. This is very important because you often need to select data to move it, copy it, or select it in a formula. The simplest selection is a single cell, usually done with a mouse or maybe a directional arrow key. The next step up is to select multiple cells together, and this can be done either with a mouse by dragging from one cell to additional adjoining cells, or you can use the Shift key with directional arrow keys. Next up is selecting a single column or row, which is done simply by selecting the letter at the top of the column or the number on the left of a row. Then we can progress to selecting multiple columns and rows by clicking the mouse button, holding it down, and dragging across more columns. Or if you are not comfortable with dragging, you can also select the column first, then hold Shift plus arrow keys to select multiple columns. The same applies to rows too. However, if you have data in non-continuous rows or columns, that is, not next to each other, you can select the first column, then use the Control key to select another unconnected column, such as columns C and F here. The largest thing you might want to select is the whole worksheet, which you can do by clicking in the top left corner of the cells. However, this selects the entire worksheet, including all the empty rows and columns. So if you only want the data in your worksheet, you can use the shortcut Ctrl plus A. A word of warning when selecting data in cells, rows, and columns. There are 3 types of cross symbols that you might see when working with selected cells. The first one is the large white cross that you see when you select a cell, as can be seen here in cell A4. This is the select cross that we have been using already in this video to select cells. The second type you might see is when you hover over the bottom edge of a cell and see a thin black cross-type symbol with arrows on each point. This is the move symbol and would move the cell data to another location. The last type is the small thin black cross that is seen when you hover over the bottom right corner of a cell. This is the fill handle or copy symbol, and it fills or copies the cell data to another location. In this video, we learned how to move around a spreadsheet, become familiar with the ribbon and menus, and learned how to select data in a worksheet. In the next videos, we will discuss how to enter data, how to copy and paste data, and how to format data in a spreadsheet. In this video, we will listen to several data professionals discuss the advantages and limitations of using spreadsheets as a tool for data analysis. Let us start with, what are the benefits and advantages of using spreadsheets as a tool for data analysis?
My experience using spreadsheets as a tool for data analysis is somewhat mixed. I think they can be really useful in the right context, but using spreadsheets definitely has its limitations. So the big pro of using spreadsheets is you can see all the data cleanly laid out in front of you in a table. So I think it's very clear to anyone looking at a spreadsheet exactly what the data is, what format it comes in, all of that. You can just easily visually inspect it.
As a CPA, I use Microsoft Excel on a daily basis, and I have done so for the duration of my career. The functionalities, the pivot tables, the charts, etc., but also being able to use formulas. My personal favorite is index match for using a pretty simple way to take just thousands of lines of information and sift through all of that to find specifically what you're looking for. Excel is really that one-stop shop where you can perform calculations, analyze financial ratios, and even export reports out of the ERP that I spoke of earlier to customize it as you need.
My experience is using spreadsheets is that they're great for simple analysis.
I will say spreadsheets over the years, the process itself has just improved. As systems improve, as technology improves, spreadsheets are the way to go. Spreadsheets overall, when you do have probably anywhere from 0 to 20,000 lines of data, it's a good way to go. You can really pull out the data, whether I'm trying to see how much a client's making per month, but they may have 1,000 transactions. All of that's helpful. I can use this spreadsheet to whittle down what is actually going on per month, or if I want to do a sum if, or if this happens, give me this number. It's really helpful to be able to dig in and wrap your hands around it and take something that seems on the surface, 20,000 lines seems almost unmanageable. But if I take it and I massage it, put it in a spreadsheet, and then sort it, filter it, make it pretty, put it in a pivot table, I can get what I need. It's just all about not looking at it as being this intimidating thing, but making it more manageable and breaking it down into bite-sized chunks.
Spreadsheets are the easiest way to analyze data and present data. We don't need any fancy tools or additional software for spreadsheets. It's like the commonly utilized language to communicate.
Thank you for that insight. But let's move on to look at the other side of the coin. What are the drawbacks and limitations of using spreadsheets as a tool for data analysis?
I think one of the big cons in terms of analyzing data within spreadsheets is it's really hard to reproduce state. So in other words, if you load in some data and you filter out some bad values, or you impute some missing values, there's no way to tell your colleagues or your future self exactly the different steps you took to create that data set or to modify that data set.
It's almost a dilemma because of the plethora of options available within Excel and all of the functions that are there supposedly to make your life easier, but it's nearly impossible to know everything. And you can find yourself in what we accountants call analysis paralysis when you're looking at something for too long, or you're not well versed in a particular Excel function. So you may spend a lot more time, energy, and effort trying to figure that one thing out. And had you done it a different way, or maybe a manual way, you probably could have gotten to the solution a lot easier.
And the downside of using spreadsheets is that if you have complex formulas, VLOOKUPs, if statements, at times they just stop working and you have to rebuild them. So I have found that it's better to use Excel just for simple analysis and for a download of information.
I love a good spreadsheet. I love using Excel and pivot tables to get to the data. But I find that if I start to get over 10, 20,000 lines of data, it gets a little tricky. And sometimes the spreadsheets will crash. So that's when we might move to Access and some of the other tools that we use.
It's very difficult to handle the extremely large data set in spreadsheet. Besides, spreadsheet has less flexibility for complicated analysis and presentation.
Thank you for watching our video. We hope you found it helpful. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. If you know someone who could benefit from this information, please share it with them. We would love to hear your thoughts on this learning course, so please leave a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.